Dear colleagues, we continue the press briefings, and the next briefing will be on resocialization as a part of the national security. We are going to communicate to Serhiy Cherzhevsky, who is the leader of psychological service of the National Guard of Ukraine, Yevgen Lokhmatov, Civil Platform Project New Country Coordinator, Olena Ganiak-Kaskiv, psychiatrist of Berkut Battalion, as well as we are going to have an expert from Daniel on nonviolent communication and reconciliations
as a part of the national security. And our next briefers are the speakers are the Serhiy Cherzhevsky, Yevgen Lokhmatov, Olena Ganiak-Kaskiv, and our expert on nonviolent communication and reconciliation will brief us on this topic. Proszę was, колеги.
Dear participants, you're welcome. Hello, colleagues. The topic of resocialization, as of today, as we believe, is underestimated. It's clear that some physical injuries are easier to diagnose than the psychological one. There are plenty of experience, of world experience, as the different countries solve the problem of resocialization. They solve the issues of bringing the veterans and servicemen back to normal life. Ukraine has no such experience. That is why we, at the Civil Platform Project New Country, decided to mend the situation and organize the project as following. The project is aimed at attracting international experts having experience in solving this problem, invite experts, psychologists, trainers from Ukraine in order to have specialists who receive the experience and spread it all over Ukraine. And on the other side, we have people who need this work, this assistance. Those are servicemen, those are people who were or are currently located within the ATO zones. Those are internally displaced persons. As of now, we have signed, there was an order signed on cooperation. Tomorrow we launch our activities and work with psychologists of the National Guard of Ukraine. Then we are going to cooperate in Novopetrivtsi with officers and servicemen. So that is our plan for the recent 4 days. And then we are going to work with other departments and battalions and share this experience both to psychologists, including civil psychologists and military psychologists, as well as grant assistance to servicemen in solving this problem. Now I'm giving the floor to representatives of the National Guard of Ukraine. They'll tell you in more detail on this problem and on our cooperation. Please, Serhiy. Hello to everyone. Serhiy Oleksandrovich, Psychological Service of the National Guard. Our meeting in this format is predetermined that as of today, Psychological Service of the National Guard has certain experience in 3 stages of carrying out service tasks within ATO. That is preparation, that is service in ATO, and that is rehabilitation, psychological rehabilitation of the ATO. Within every stage, we have an experience of attracting psychologists, volunteers, and we assess this work as an important one because based only on statistical data, 1/3 of service men address the military psychologists, and half of them address civilian psychologists. That is predetermined by the peculiarities of work of military psychologists. And they have great experience, and we see perspective of work within this direction. On November 21st, we had all Ukrainian Congress of psychologists on the basis of Kostyuk Institute, where psychologists of the National Guard stated that work of psychologists need to be coordinated within the whole of Ukraine, and we see perspective in fruitful cooperation of military psychologists and civil experts. As of today, it's natural that military psychologists lack experience related to military actions, but at the same time, step up the step for 8 months, we gained this experience. Why do we need this? First of all, it is related to reduction in psychological atmosphere. Our experience shows that within the first stage, if to resort to statistics, only 250 persons are psychologically lost, and gradually the statistics grow 7 times. If to speak about Vietnam, the veterans who were left alive, every third was committing suicide. The psychological service is interested in preventing this process. We have relevant forecasts, and we see the need in work with servicemen who return home. That is why we invite civil experts. We are going to involve the international experience in this field. And one more time, we expect providing help, psychological help to servicemen after the military actions. Now I'm going to give word to Karl Plesner.
He's going to tell us about the international experience dealing with this or resolving this problem. Also, he's going to tell us very briefly about the experience amassed already in Ukraine regarding the specific direction of the activities. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, my name is Karl Plesner. I am a certified trainer in nonviolent communication. I am a specialist in restoring dignity after violent conflicts. And I am here on behalf of Dignity Space, a Ukrainian NGO that support people to heal and restore community and dignity after violent conflicts. This training program, we are very excited about this training program because we see this as a very, very powerful possibility to support the people coming home from war to find peace and support and emotional recovery after the violent experiences during the war. And we sincerely hope that this project we are going to start together, that it will help them to a very safe and peaceful re-entry to civilian life. We don't know exactly what trainer will participate yet, but it will be a space of dignity that will find the appropriate trainer. There are more than 400 certified trainers in nonviolent communication in the world, and they work in more than 90 countries, and many of them work in conflicted areas, heavily suffering from violent conflicts. So that will be it. Thank you.
Далі запрошую Олену.
Now I'd like to give the floor to Olena, and she's going to tell us about the experience which we already accumulated on the soil of Ukraine, including this specific experience in reconciliation of different parts of the war while being on Maidan. Actually, Olena is a psychologist of the Berkut special unit, and she's going to share her experience. She already has some skills and habits, and they will also learn from Karl, among other things. Good afternoon. I would like to share my own experience with you, and what comes to my mind, Pelevin's phrase, that man can see a devil in everybody, but in the mirror or TV set. And we actually covered this among the events in days of the events of last year. Actually, we lacked a lot of let's say, attention on the part of the media, of the press, on the part of the people. We had to speak up our own minds, and we actually didn't have this opportunity. Actually, Carl approached us and proposed that we should have kind of a dialogue with the actors of Maidan. We actually consent to that, and we were really we are shocked to some extent. Actually, we planned this meeting to last for 3 hours. 5 hours later, we continued to talk, and we talked and talked for 8 hours in a row. We had a lot to say to each other. We would like to hear to each other, to hear each other, what happened during those events, what kind of sensation we experienced or feelings. You can understand this was a very complex picture of the reality, and the truth is not really a simple thing or kind of just plain as that, which can be depicted by some kind of very familiar phrase or something like that. In those days, we managed to somehow to disavow those myths about each other. We had an opportunity to meet each other. We kind of started a kind of friendship between ourselves. I really wish you all to have this kind of feeling. I continue to be a volunteer of this organization, and I help to rehabilitate the people after different conflicts. So I kindly call it upon everybody to join us. Thank you. Actually, this is all. This exhausts what we wanted to share with you today. The major aim is that all of us together, the whole Ukrainian people, be united. Yes, somebody would like to separate us and to break our unity, but we have to be strong. We have to overcome all those contradictions we have today in order to achieve very happy, peaceful, and prosperous future. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please shoot. Well, I have a question to you. I would like to hear from Mr. Chizhevsky. Today in Ukraine, the volunteer movement, which was kind of very much developed during the Maidan events, now it is the basis and support of our army. And today, volunteers assist in everything. You name it, from the clothes or the uniform, whatever else. And they also participate in the rehabilitation of those guys who come back from the front line. My question is, do you know whether we have on the state level any kind of program, what our government authorities do in order to help those people who come back to the peaceful life from the front line? We are not talking about Maidan only now. We are talking about the anti-terrorist organization operation zone. How they come back to the normal life, what the state does for them. Very good question. Thank you very much. Now, psychological service of the National Guards studies the experience of Europe. In this specific context, we studied the experience in France. We tried to learn from the psychological experience with the guys who are going to be sent to the front line during their, when they find themselves in this conflict area and after that. In France, 200,000 volunteer psychologists work with the different, the military, the army, and other law enforcement bodies. Those who actually were part of these extreme situations or the military conflicts. And we try to coordinate our work closely with the psychologists, volunteer psychologists, civil guys. We actually entered in some kind of contracts with the social services, some educational establishments, volunteer psychologists, individual, but actually this work today badly demands some kind of coordination. We have to know where those four guys who went back to peaceful life, where they reside. Speaking about this program, what's the status today? It's being worked upon, and there are a lot of foreign experts today in Ukraine. And at this stage, we started the experience the foreign experience. And please understand me properly that over the independent years of Ukraine, we didn't have any experience in this specific sphere. And today we try to introduce in our work some elements, element by element. This is the program. It requires really well-weighted coordination between different ministers and departments at the same time. At this stage, actually we are just at the beginning of the road, let's say. Let's put it this way. We have to start that until the very end, when we can really will have it completed. I cannot tell you now, but speaking about some of the authorities and some governmental structures, we have to go through the process of coordination in order to channel all our efforts in some practical plane. Яка зараз
Program on the state level to conduct all these activities?
Yes, on a state level in Denmark, to support people coming home from war, and Danish soldiers has been participating in violent conflicts around the world, ex-Yugoslavia, Iraq, Afghanistan, since 1992, and extensive research has been conducted in Denmark, mapping the extent of PTSD and other combat-related emotional sufferings. And because of this, the state has initiated very strong programs to support soldiers to come home to civil life.
Will it be safe to say that this is the state who's doing the main job and not the volunteers who are participating in the project?
Yes, you can say it's the state that do this job. And I think saying that, it's very important to acknowledge that the state of Denmark is in a whole other situation than the state of Ukraine. And for these reasons, I see that many volunteer networks are doing the exact work that the government would be doing in Denmark. And I also see that in Ukraine, these volunteer networks, they are responding much faster to the situation than the governments would do in Denmark in a similar situation. So it's difficult to compare these two.
Did you have any maybe rough numbers, like what is the budget of the state for these programs, like roughly?
I don't have an idea about the budget, but it's very clear that looking overall, it's a very good investment.
Sure.
Because soldiers coming home not receiving support, they are much more likely to be a burden for society, for police, for crime, beating their wives, their children, killing other people, robberies, all that. So there's a huge saving of cost in really helping these people to rehabilitate after the war.
Thank you so much. We hope that you will share this experience and these insights with those who are taking decisions in Ukraine. So maybe it will help. Thank you so much. Колеги, чи є в нас запитання ще? В мене ще тоді...
Are there any more questions? I have another question to Yevgen, to Yevgeny. How many actually guys who were in the front line approached you with asking for some psychological assistance or help? Yeah, well, actually, starting in the international experience and some research in psychology, 98 participants of the military conflicts actually require very highly qualified psychological support. How many guys have been offered this help? First, let's say the category help. Well, in the context, since we are now living through some military conflicts, any kind of information associated with psychogenic, let's say, effect, it's kind of classified, I would say, or confidential. It's very important, I believe, that when people come back from the front line, when the kind of injuries or maiming, they not only require some kind of sympathy, they have to be implemented and come back to life. Are there any kind of negotiations? Maybe we are involved with some businesses or business structures in order to involve those people in some kind of production, some kind of projects. If you know something about that, please share this information with us.
Дві складові відповіді на це питання. Перше, щодо повернення, в принципі, до цивільного життя і до залучення як такого бійців в будь-яку сферу цього цивільного життя. Перепрошую. Власне, ми, як громадянська платформа «Нова країна», вбачаємо в цьому дуже великий сенс, тому що це люди, які багато чого пройшли, вони знають ціну життя, вони знають ціну миру. І як співає Шевчук, чим ближче смерть, тим чище люди. І ці чисті люди, вони нам дуже потрібні у громадській діяльності. Вони нам, як, не рахуйте за пафос, не вважайте за пафос, але ці люди мають нам бути еталоном у цивільному житті, і ми дуже хочемо їх залучати до громадських проєктів по, власне, будівництву країни. Щодо, власне, друге складове питання по бізнесу, роботі, скажімо так, якоїсь комерційної діяльності, то ми зараз ведемо перемовини з налагоджуємо партнерські стосунки з кількома ще організаціями громадськими, але які займаються, власне, роботою з сім'ями, безпосередньо з бійцями. І, власне, це в них вже є такі напрацювання, і це вже трошки до них питання. Вони більш надають більш адресну допомогу. І в них це також одне з пріоритетних питань – зайнятість бійців.
Будь ласка, всі запитання в мікрофон.
Телеканал Київ, Наталія Сарданова. Скажіть, будь ласка, власне, по цьому проєкту, я ж, чесно кажучи, трошки не зрозуміла, який запрацює за 4 дні, наскільки я почула. Конкретніше, що це за проєкт, як воно взагалі буде виглядатиме, є якісь цифри вже людей, які потребують цієї допомоги, якось трошки детальніше.
Добре, дякую. Власне, проєкт виглядає наступним чином. З одного боку є цивільні психологи, які будуть переймати досвід міжнародний. Карл, його колеги будуть цей досвід цим цивільним психологам надавати. З іншого боку є військові психологи, психологи Національної гвардії, є бійці та офіцери. Ми працюємо з усіма 4 цими групами людей, категоріями людей, і на кожній з цієї групи даємо те, що, власне, їй найбільш потрібно. Цивільних психологів навчаємо методології і військових психологів методології, як виявляти такі проблеми, як допомагати у виходу з цих проблем, таке інше. А бійцям та офіцерам даємо методологію, як виявляти та допомагати самому собі в тому числі. Тому що бійцю, наприклад, навчають, йому видають особисту аптечку, він знає, як її користуватись, як допомогти товаришу у разі якогось поранення фізичного, так? Але як виявити психологічну травму.
But how to reveal some physical injury, how to help your friend, that's an open issue. That is why we are going to grant this experience for servicemen to be able to grant assistance to themselves and to help their friends for this issue not to be neglected. How does it look practically? Those are psychological trainings, yes. Tomorrow we will work with military psychologists. Yesterday we worked with civil ones. We were training them. And we start with the civilian psychologists, civil ones, because all the next days the civil psychologists will be working with Carl according to these categories. They will work together. So Carl will be a supervisor within this process. He will direct the process and help assist with the process, and the psychologists will be attracted to some practical tasks. So that is voluntary participation, so to say. Yes, we attract civil society organizations, public organizations which are engaged in the process, and we grant them with the best world practices for this to be on professional level. I would like to mention that this program is foreseen not only within the scale of Kiev, but it will cover all the regions of Ukraine. And step by step, we will work, first of all, with practical military psychologists, showing them international experience, and they will cooperate together with civil psychologists. So here we may trace cooperation of civil and military psychologists. What is the term of this program? If to speak about experience of Karl, that is nonviolent communication, social structure of those misoccurrences taking place within the armed forces in order to renew the psychological preparedness of servicemen. Yes, I understand you're speaking about the scope, but I asked you about the term. If to speak about time, as of today, we have plans till February to cover all the oblasts, regions of Ukraine. Will you repeat your program then? First of all, we'll analyze the first stage, and depending on results and outcomes of practical works, depending on need of servicemen and psychologists, we'll plan further. I'll add a bit. The term, if to speak about the term, it is influenced by several criteria, several factors. On the one side, in our country, we have an undeclared war. We shall not forget about it. It may correct our cooperation somehow, change it somehow. And another factor is financial part of the issue, because now we do everything on our expense, but to be more intensive, to raise intensity of our work, we need to get money from somewhere. So the state shaping the order for this service does not finance you. So far, no finances are coming from the state budget, because we're just shaping and analyzing this program, and the problem is there. And as volunteers, we may not just sit on our hands. Then specify for everyone here and for people willing to help your organization your contact details. You may find our contact details on newcountry.org. You may call us, you may send us email, and we'll respond how to help. So that is a civil platform project New Country. The site is novakraina.org. There you may find telephone numbers. Call us. Thank you. Thank you, dear speakers. Maria, Daily UA. Would you specify, would you grant us a list of public organizations and volunteer organizations you cooperate with who assist you? Thank you for the question. First of all, that is Space of Dignity. That is the Center of Nonviolent Communication. This team is positioned as experts, as a receiving party of an international experience. And the Space of Dignity cooperates with Karl and his colleagues. And they're interested to spread this experience along the country. Also, we have civil society organizations, as I've mentioned, cooperating with military servicemen, with their families. And Now we are negotiating with Women's Force of Ukraine and several more organizations who are ready and willing to cooperate. This is an open information. We share it with everyone and we invite everyone. One more question. Do you create some unified program of controlling the serviceman starting from his entering the ATO and up to his rejoining the society? We do not have this information in full because so far it's more important for us to saturate with this experience our country and grant it to people who need it. So this technology is quite simple. It doesn't require psychological education.
Just answering your question, I would like to add that in psychological service and the guards, we have a special system of the psychological assistance starting from the trainee, would-be military guy in the context of the professional psychological training, then the let's say the special missions, let's say realization implementation. But I would like to say that the part of those guys who are belong to the category of the military reserve, they do not have any kind of let's say neither approach to this kind of person after they actually have finished becoming military. Actually, we have to need some. We need here some help and assistance of military and civil psychologists, both of them, kind of teamwork. And one more question: what you mean to say that actually any person, even without psychological background, can come to your trainings? Yeah, absolutely. We do not limit them, those guys, to anything. If there are no more questions, thanks a lot. Thank you very much for your absolutely needed work which you carry out, and we can only hope that this step will actually evaluate your work in the way you deserve. Thank you very much. And this is the end of our briefing.